give a quick overview of their divisions, what initiatives are happening, what great things are taking place, what's in store maybe for the future, as we all know, as we come out of this pandemic and trying to see what those next steps are going to be. It's an exciting time. Never waste a good crisis. I think we're kind of in the middle of a lot of really good pivots and opportunities right now to see where education can go. But before we continue, let me just kind of give a little overview of who these individuals are who are leading our schools and providing your clients with some great opportunities to be able to move into some great school divisions. In no particular order, we'll start with Isle of Wight County, Mr. Michael Lombardo. Michael, good morning. Mike is he's the Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction in Isle of Wight County Schools. He's been there since 2017. He's got over 25 years of experience as a teacher, a principal, a central office administrator, and as part of the Isle of Wight team, he's really provided a lot of leadership with implementing the project-based learning initiatives, the 5 C's and deeper learning methodologies across the curriculum. And he's provided a lot of leadership on the redesign teams for career and technical education programs in Isle of Wight as well. So welcome, Mike. Good to have you with us this morning. We're looking forward to seeing all the great things that Isle of Wight is up to. Moving up to Newport News, George Parker. George, good morning. Dr. Parker is a wealth of experience in Newport News, coming from actually Virginia Beach and Caroline County. Sometimes there's some amazing routes that we take to get to where we are currently. George actually did a 4-year stint in the Navy before going into education as a teacher, an assistant principal, and assistant sup for secondary ed in Virginia Beach City Public Schools. Like I said before, going to Caroline County as their superintendent and then arriving in Newport News as the superintendent there. He has his Bachelor of Arts in Computer Science from Norfolk State, as well as a master's degree in ed leadership from Norfolk State and a doctorate in educational leadership and policy from Virginia Tech. So George, welcome today. We're glad to hear all the great things that are happening in Newport News. Right next door in Hampton, Jeff Smith. Jeff, good morning. Dr. Smith comes to Hampton City Schools. He arrived there in 2015, actually, before serving about a 7-year stint as the principal in the town of West Point. Jeff also served with me in Williamsburg. Strange connections here when you spend enough time in this business. I actually was a principal in Hampton City Schools and got my career started in York County. So this is truly kind of like old home week for me. Jeff has been a dynamic leader in Hampton City Schools. As you know, the academies and the high schools have been a great opportunity for the schools to showcase some fantastic programs and partnerships. Hampton City Schools has seen 100% accreditation across its buildings. It has basically been a powerhouse in dual enrollment with Thomas Nelson Community College, and they've had I can't believe this number, but it's a 753% increase in dual enrollment and concurrent coursework, which is a really heavy push for our high schoolers. Dr. Smith is a community leader involved in many multiple chairmanships for committees, as well as the Association of State Superintendents leadership as well. So we're glad to have you here with us today, Jeff, to tell us all the great things that are happening in York County. I'm sorry, in Hampton City. Moving to York County, sorry. Victor Shandor. Dick, good morning. Dr. Shandor came to York County the same time I arrived in Charles City in 2014. He comes to us as a graduate of California University of Pennsylvania. A special place in my heart because my mom's family was actually from Charleroi, Southwest Pennsylvania, so I know California very well. He started his education career as a teaching assistant, and his initial classroom experiences led him to pursue a master's degree in exceptional education from ODU, and he earned his doctorate from Wingate University. He's 24 years of experience, and the work that he's been doing in York County, again, has been phenomenal in terms of making sure that the educational community is really serving the needs of unique needs of its families. He has a particular passion for exceptional education, and he has received, he actually also teaches at ODU and at George Washington University, an adjunct as a guest lecturer. Last and certainly not least, Artie Tillett, the COSUN, probably our newest member to the fold here. Artie came to the COSUN from the Outer Banks of North Carolina. terrible place to have to live and grow up, I know. The Outer Banks for Artie was his home. It remains, I know, a special place. That's where his career started. His lovely wife of 29 years. They have two sons, Evan, 25, and a daughter, Macy, 21. He's basically spent the past 30 years predominantly, like I said, in the Outer Banks as a teacher, a coach, a principal, a chief academic officer, and assistant superintendent, all with Dare County schools. In July, he came upon this new adventure with Poquoson City, and he's served on a variety of educational and community-focused boards and committees, and is an active member of his local church as well. Artie, welcome. Gentlemen, yeah, a big applause for them. Fantastic. We appreciate your leadership, guys. Thank you. So this morning we're going to start off, and this is somewhat of a dangerous venture, I know, because whenever you give a superintendent the microphone and ask them to talk about their schools, you're going to be here all day. But we've asked them to try to boil down the granular nuggets of their school divisions, their missions, and their passions to about a 5 to 8 minute elevator speech, if possible. You know, as realtors, you want to know what the selling points are at the schools. You want to know what the information is, because you're going to get multiple questions from multiple clients. They're here to help, and I'm going to ask them to be able to provide us with some overviews of their school divisions, just to kind of give you a lay of the land. And then Peggy and I will start to dive a little deeper into some of the questions that you have and that we have with regard to you know, how this is all going to work and what the partnership between real estate and education, you know, can be for us here in the Virginia Peninsula. So I will start again with no particular order. Mike, we'll start with you from Isle of Wight.
Great, sounds good. I'm happy to be here this morning with everyone. In Isle of Wight County Schools, like many other divisions and all of us, you know, we've been navigating the pandemic, of course, since last spring. But what I really want to do is share some work with you that, you know, we had been engaged in prior to the pandemic, and actually work that we're very much interested and eager to get back into as we move forward. And so I'll share just a few comments, and then I have a very brief video. We've been trying to use a lot of video to sort of show the work that we're doing in different ways. And I'll showcase one of those videos in a moment. But as a broad overview, I think what we want folks to know is that we believe in deeper learning for all students. We have really tried to move away from what school used to look like and some of the traditional ways and methodologies that we were engaged in, and become much more innovative in our approach for our students. To that end, we have trained all of our teachers in project-based learning. We've partnered with High Tech High in California and provided that training, which was so important. We're not just a project-based learning school division, though. That's just one method that we use to achieve deeper learning. And we really want our students engaged in authentic, deeper learning endeavors across the curriculum and across all levels, K through 12. What we know in looking at our data is that many of our students choose to go directly to college out of high school. We feel like we have been and continue to do a pretty good job for them. But we also know is many of our students choose to go directly into the workforce and into a career. And that's an area where we felt like we needed to improve. So several years back, we engaged in a complete redesign of our career and technical education programming and also the facilities. So programs such as welding, building trades, culinary arts, cosmetology, nursing, and agriculture, to name a few, are the types of programs that we're very proud of and that we see our students going through, earning relevant certifications, engaging in internships and apprenticeships, and then moving right into the workforce. So we've also worked very hard to cultivate business partnerships to enhance the work that we're doing and ultimately meet the needs of our students. Just wanted to name a few examples. We have a tremendous partnership with Smithfield Foods. So when we did engage in this initial work with career and technical education redesign, Smithfield Foods looked at our proposals and the work that we were getting ready to start. They stepped up and actually donated $3 million towards those efforts. Lee Bear in Newport News, they partnered with us to create and completely design our welding program as well as our state-of-the-art welding facilities. And then Sumitomo Drive Technologies in Chesapeake, we worked and partnered with them to develop youth apprenticeships and internships so that our students interested in those careers can come right out of our manufacturing, building trades or even our engineering programs into an internship as they transition into the workforce. So with that, I'd like to just go ahead. I'll share my screen, I guess, Dr. Gaston at this time, and we'll go ahead and share a brief video with you.
Somebody once asked the question, what could school be? We answered, somewhere learning is not confined to rows, offering children the chance to explore and express themselves in new and creative ways. A place where technology thrives and students are put at the cutting edge of innovation. An opportunity to discover new passions, gifts, and talents. A safer, more comfortable space, re-engineered and redesigned to give our students and employees a sense of warmth and pride. A support system to meet the individual needs of all, fostering citizenship and collaboration. A place to prepare for college, careers, and life. A community, a family, a home. 3 years ago, we set out with a vision: create a learning environment that would enable every student to discover his or her unique gifts and talents. At Isle of Wight County Schools, we are blessed to be a part of a community that recognizes the value and importance of the education of all children. All of our advocates, the Board of Supervisors, the school board, our business partners, local civic organizations, and all taxpayers. You are the champions of our direction, our vision, and our plans for the future. Thanks to your investments and support, we are reimagining and re-engineering the old constructs of education and building a new meaning to what school can be.
All right, so just in conclusion, hopefully that video sort of shares, much of what Isle of Wight County Schools has been engaged in, much of what we're very proud of. And I think, like many other divisions and all of us, again, like I opened with, we have been navigating the pandemic. So things have looked quite different here over the last year, but we are beginning that transition back to hopefully more of what you saw in the video. And for us, that's just the beginning. We're really looking to continue the innovative work and move forward in a very positive direction. So thank you, Dr. Gaston, for the opportunity.
Fantastic, Mike. Thank you. A great production there and a great overview of some of the innovations that are taking place. Just, I guess, consequently, those videos obviously are available at the websites in terms of referrals and information for the community.
That's correct. We have them on the website, on our YouTube channel, and so we have some broad overview videos like that, and then we have some other very specific ones related to, for instance, like a welding program or something of that nature. So there's a wealth of information available through video and other formats that are on the website.
Great, that's excellent. It's good to know too. I know we can steer some folks over to them and be able to get some real deep dives into the school division. So fantastic, thank you. Going across the water, we'll go to George in Newport News. Good morning, George, and welcome.
Good morning, and I'm very pleased to be here this morning and looks like you guys have a great meeting and great attendance. I see a few of your faces on this call too, so it's good to join you this morning. Just speaking about Newport News, I am the proud superintendent of Newport News. I'm in year 3 of leadership here in Newport News. And as you heard from the bio, my previous superintendency was in Caroline County, which is up in Northern Virginia. Usually when we say Caroline County, folks think of North Carolina, but I can assure you I've never did a stint down in North Carolina. So Newport News is a unique city. We're the only urban school division on this call. And so I think everyone on this call is familiar with the challenges of not only probably selling property in an urban school, in an urban city, but also selling the possibilities and potential of an urban school division. And what I tell folks all the time when talking about our great city, I say Newport News Public Schools is an urban school division with suburban aspirations, which means, and what I mean by that is we're surrounded by quite a few suburban and or rural areas. And sometimes folks like to move out into the suburbs and they want the same type of educational experience that they may have in those suburban areas. We have to understand in Newport News who we are. And that's what I always tell community members, business partners, that the first part of improving a school division or reaching the excellence that you're aspiring to attain is you have to first understand who you are. And then you have to plan appropriately to address and to overcome any of the challenges that you may face as a school division. Now, I was very fortunate in coming to Newport News that we had phenomenal programs already in place in the city, probably not as well advertised as I think should be and emphasized as much. But if you're not familiar with some of the great programs, we have International Baccalaureate, we have a governor's STEM education program, great partnerships with New Horizons that provide access to career and technical education. We're their largest supporter in terms of student attendance. We have dual enrollment, an early college program, which is a partnership with Thomas Nelson Community College, where students can work up to an associate's degree before graduating from high school. That program is well attended. We have our own technical center. Well, it's not our own, but it's New Horizons other center, Woodside Lane, is located right next to Woodside High School. So we have a high level of attendance in technical education there. And we have several magnet programs. In particular, I would highlight Woodside High School's Fine Arts Magnet Program, which has led Newport News to become nationally recognized as a community of arts, education and fine arts in the area and in the nation, which is a very good magnet program which draws students from all over the city for performing arts curriculum. Other programs very heavily emphasized in emphasis in STEM education throughout our school division. We hold STEM education challenges, so our schools compete at the elementary, middle school, and high school level with STEM challenges that are supported by local businesses and such as the U.S. Navy, the LeBeer, other Newport News Shipbuilding. So they'll work with us and create the STEM education challenge, and then our students come together and they compete for prize in terms of mastering those STEM education challenges. We've done a lot to encourage deeper learning in our schools throughout this pandemic. It's been a great time to focus primarily on the quality of curriculum, making sure that we're emphasizing student learning over covering material. And we feel that coming out of the pandemic, we'll focus on that aspect of teaching and learning in terms of the emphasis in deeper learning. And for non-educators on the call, basically what you may already know if you had children in any school division, there's the state gives us a curriculum and they test us, that we test in May. And in many cases, it's a race to the finish to try to cover all of that material versus teaching it at a deeper level. So when we say deeper learning as educators, we're talking about an emphasis on learning more so than just covering material. So, that's been a big push for several of our school divisions over the course of this pandemic, is to make sure that we have a heightened emphasis on student learning. and that professional development and emphasis in curriculum will continue on beyond this pandemic. So I would also mention there are other programs that we feel that we're very proud of. We're very proud of our ROTC programs in our school division. We have 3 ROTC programs in our schools, and we also enjoyed the aspect at one of our schools with the Aviation Magnet Program, where we actually have a partnership with the airport here in Newport News. We teach students the aviation trades, and also students can earn can work up to an aviation license while they're in high school. So that program is one of our jewels. We actually allow some other school divisions to have students apply and be accepted into that program. And it's at Denby High School, which is a very good program as well. I think there was mention about working towards accreditation and the efforts. Urban school divisions, you always have obviously pockets of lower socioeconomics, and you have the influences of poverty that you have to address. And our approach in Newport News is to use an equitable approach, equity-driven leadership, to make sure that we're serving students and providing them greater opportunities and access to opportunities in our school division. So we don't treat all of our schools the same. We make sure that we assess our students individually, and we assess the needs of each school individually, and provide the resources, allocate the resources necessary based on the needs of the school and of the students in that school. So we use a very equity-driven approach. We feel that we're moving very fairly well towards full accreditation in Newport News. We've been on this track for several years now. And I think the pandemic gave us a hiccup. I was expecting some great gains last year. Looking forward to getting back on track next year once accountability comes in place, if the system is back in place and we can move forward with our accreditation progress. So looking forward to any questions you may have. Great things are happening in Newport News, as my board chair, Gary Hunter, used to say all the time. And we just need to make sure that we're partnering with organizations like the Realtors Association to make sure you guys are getting good information about the schools that we have in our serve our communities, and the great things that are happening in those schools. So I'd be happy to assist you if you're not getting the information that you need. We can, Pat Finneran is on the call today as well, and we can make sure that we can provide you greater access to information as.
Great, thanks, George. And you're right, information is definitely power, and it spreads the good news out there of what's happening. This tremendous variety of programs, personalization efforts in Newport News to be able to meet each student, where they are, and appreciate all of the overview that you provided for us in that wonderful synopsis. So thank you, and we'll definitely get more questions. I know that'll be coming soon. We're going to bop on over to Poquoson to Artie Tillett. Good morning, Artie.
Good morning, Dr. Gaston and everyone. Thanks for inviting me today. Great to be here with a group of realtors. Have several realtors in my family, and hailing from the Outer Banks of North Carolina. You all, I'm sure, are aware of the crazy market that's going on down there. So being a partner with realtors over my career on the Outer Banks has been a pleasure. We've learned a lot from each other as we partnered to make the Outer Banks a destination for families, not just to visit, but to stay and work and live and grow. And we find that same work going on here in Poquoson. So it's been a pleasure to come up the coast a bit and land here in this great salt marsh that reminds me so much of my real hometown in Wanchese, North Carolina, part of the Outer Banks, less visited. But I've got a quick slide presentation, and I will be brief. I know folks have a lot going on today. And like you said, David, earlier, if you hand the microphone to a school superintendent, it may take all day. So I'm going to really be sensitive to everyone's time and go quickly. But I will share this screen if I can. had a hiccup here. There we go. Sorry about that. Says the host has disabled the sharing, so I maybe I'm going to have to fly solo here. Is there any way to open that up, Sandra? Do you know?
I just asked Joe, I think, let's see. Okay, there you go. Somebody did some magic, I think.
I don't know.
There we see it's,
Can you
we
see
can
my
see-
screen?
yes, we are
Okay,
seeing it.
Great. Gotcha. All right. Sorry about the delay, folks. But Poquoson Schools is a small school division, about 2,100 students. We have 4 schools, a primary school with pre-K to 2nd grade, and elementary school grades 3 through 5, and a middle school 6-8 that we're currently renovating. So we're housing those students, the 8th graders on our high school campus, and our 6th and 7th graders are in modular units on our elementary campus. And of course, we have Poquoson High School, a comprehensive high school, and all of our schools are fully accredited. You can see from the slide the demographic breakdown of our population, and we're very proud of the fact that significantly over half of our teachers hold master's degrees and are fully licensed and high quality. These are just a few bullet points on here. I won't read the slide to you, but we do have a very comprehensive world language program that starts in the elementary school that we're very proud of. Our school division was recognized this past year as a school division of innovation by the VDOE. We have a very comprehensive and competitive athletic and extracurricular program here that is available to all of our students. In addition to this, we were recognized by WISE Blue Star School of Distinction at our high school for our financial literacy program, which very few schools in the country attain. So these are just a few bullet points. And again, I could provide several slides with a lot of the accolades of the great success that I inherited coming here new. This year's senior class, this is a pretty impressive slide. We'll graduate about 175 kids on the 18th of June and send them out into the world. And they've earned over $2.5 million worth of scholarship awards this year to further their education. Logged over 10,000 hours of community service. 88% have earned the advanced diplomas. 100% of our students were accepted to learning institutions beyond high school. The vast majority of those were 4-year colleges or are 4-year colleges. 88% of last year's seniors attended a college or university, and 7% joined the military. We have as many school divisions, and you've heard and will hear it, as you hear from the superintendents, a lot of incredible, innovative things going on throughout our systems to connect our kids with what's relevant in their world and in their future. And one of those things we've realized is we have to have a tiered system of support. So we get kids from all levels and all areas of need, and we meet those needs individually. As Dr. Parker was mentioning a little bit in his comments, we focus on kids individually, and part of our process here is a tiered system of support that allows us to focus on behavior and interventions and as well enrichment opportunities for all of our kids based on their current needs. We have a growing experimental learning opportunity for kids where we have internships. We are, as Dr. Smith was mentioning over in, or you mentioned in his bio over in Hampton, we're growing as well our dual enrollment program with Thomas Nelson Community College, giving kids an opportunity to work in very relevant fields, and their training starting in high school rather than after high school. A lot of our kids will earn significant college transferable credit, and the goal moving forward is to have a comprehensive pathway for kids to earn their associate's degree, large numbers of kids to earn their associate's degree while with us before graduation. We do, as many of the other superintendents on the peninsula, have a very healthy relationship with New Horizons, where we offer a comprehensive program in career and technical education, of course, the Governor's School, and the Aviation Academy. Thanks, Dr. Parker, for your work over there in that. Great program. Our kids are as well involved, and these are incredible opportunities, just to name a few, for our students as well. I want to just focus a little bit on the pandemic. We heard from, as soon as I hit the ground here in July, our community told us we want kids in school. So that's been a challenge, as with every school in the world, to have kids safely in school. But we endeavored to do that. We built a plan that offered a virtual option as well as an in-person option. And we started day one with our youngest and most vulnerable learners on September the 8th. And we've had kids in school ever since. We phased in grade levels of students, starting with pre-K 2. And then shortly after, less than a month later, we brought the rest of our elementary school in, 3-5. And then we brought in our middle and then our high school students. Initially on a hybrid schedule. And then we have transitioned second semester to all students who chose in-person learning, learning in person 4 days a week. So we're proud of that. We've done that safely with a lot of extraordinary mitigation strategies, contact tracing, that I think is the key to this thing, is being hypersensitive to that, and operating with an abundance of caution when there's a possible exposure. So these things that are part of our new vernacular. None of us set out to be epidemiologists as we started our careers in education, but we've learned a lot, and I think we're going to have some significant takeaways moving forward in how we engage our business and learning at high levels, using different, new, and novel ways of doing it. Sometimes, as you said, David, don't waste a good crisis. We in education need a little push sometimes. We didn't choose it from a global pandemic, but we were dealt it. And so part of what I think the takeaway is we will be more innovative and flexible about how we offer kids opportunities to learn. And so our work in the pandemic of having students in school learning both virtually and the vast majority, over 70% of our kids learning in person, has been eye-opening. And we're proud to report we've done it safely, and I think very successfully. Well, these are some slides that I just spoke about, so I got ahead of myself. But that just indicated that all of our teachers as well have been working out of our buildings all year. They've been teaching from Pocosin schools in the facilities all year, whether they were teaching in person or virtually. Our secondary teachers, as with a lot of schools around the country, are having to teach simultaneously virtual students and students in person using some pretty novel technologies with live streaming and such, that we had to teach and learn on the fly how to use these tools. So again, our teachers have really stepped up to the plate. I want to thank them. They come with a long history of great success here in Pocosin, and with teaching and learning at high levels, and that has continued during the pandemic. We will see learning loss, as every school will, And we'll address that through our summer academy and various other ways as we mitigate those learning losses. But our folks have really stepped up, and we're very proud of the work they've done here in Poquoson, and we intend to continue the long tradition of high performance from our students and teachers. Just a quick blurb. We are, as I mentioned, being a very small division, when you do a renovation, it's a big deal in a small community. So we have our middle school, which was originally the high school, built in 1932. It has been renovated or edited 11 times in its lifetime. And now we're on the 12th renovation, which will be a new, very high-tech, comprehensive facility with all kinds of bells and whistles for our kids and teachers and families to enjoy for years to come. So we broke ground a couple of months ago, and we intend to have students in desk in this new renovated facility January of 2023. So exciting news in a small town. I tried to be as quick as I could. I could talk a lot about the great things going on in Poquoson. Very proud to be here. Excited to be a part of the Virginia education community now, and look forward to any questions and future partnerships with the Peninsula Realtors. Thank you.
Thank you, Artie, and great overview. Kudos for being able to sustain the educational process throughout the year of this pandemic. I know sometimes smaller, it may not always be more nimble, but there are some advantages maybe to having that. I came from the 6th smallest school division in the state. So, there are some things that we could do that some of the bigger ones can't, and vice versa. So there are some opportunities there that are unique. And congratulations on that renovation project, because you're right, in a small community, a renovation is a big deal. People notice, so that's great. We're going to move on over to Hampton, to Jeff Smith. Jeff, good morning and welcome.
Good morning, and thank you, Dr. Gaston, and certainly it's my pleasure to extend greetings and to say that, like my colleagues, we certainly appreciate the opportunity to really talk about and highlight some various aspects as it relates to our individual school divisions. I promise the slide deck for me is only from the standpoint of so that I stay on task and not spend too much time beyond that. So just real quick, in terms of Hampton City Schools, let me just share with you briefly. We're an urban school division, certainly located in Region 2. And if you can see my slide deck, just give me a thumbs up and say, is that good? Oh, great. So we are urban school division, as I mentioned, and we're located in Region 2. Our mission in Hampton City Schools is simply this, and yet it's complex. And that is in collaboration with our community members. It's about academic excellence for every child, every day, whatever it takes. And so that's the mission. So what I'll talk about briefly in terms of highlighting some various aspects about the programs that we offer and the overall academic success and student achievement will be in that context of our mission, fulfilling the mission. 60% of our families qualify for free reduced price meals. We have a clear focus on the academies of Hampton, and I'll highlight that a little. And then we serve approximately 19,000 students in 32 different locations. And you'll get a chance certainly just there to see the 19 elementary, and then our 2 pre-K through 8 schools, 5 middle, 4 high, 1 gifted center, and then we have 1 alternative education campus as well. The journey that we have been on as it relates to our mission of academic excellence for every child, every day, whatever it takes. This just gives you some perspective in terms of the past few years, where we were, where we are now. In 15-16, we had 41% of our schools fully accredited, and then 55% fully accredited, 66%, and 93 in the year of 18-19, our school year, and then in 19-20, 100% of our schools accredited without conditions. And as we all know, that certainly during the pandemic, the accreditation has been waived for our school divisions, in particular for all of our schools. But we feel as a school division, we're still in a very strong place with our accreditation. And I'll talk to you a little about what we have in place as it relates to this accreditation and the journey that we've been on, and the means by which we've been able to move the needle forward, in particular as it relates to student achievement and success. Let's look at our graduation rate in terms of the rates in Hampton City Schools. You'll see the journey that we've been on here. We're proud to say that if we start even in 2015, we were at 88.2% of our young people graduating on time. And we have together in a collective way been able to move that needle forward, where the class of 2020, 96.2% of our young people of the class of 2020 graduated on time. So that we're very proud of as well. A lot of hard work and heavy lifting there to focus on our mission of academic excellence for every day, for every child, every day, whatever it takes. We have grad coaches, graduation specialists, and coaches who work in our high schools along with our counselors and teachers and support staff. And we've been able to really define that path forward, and on many occasions work with young people on an individual basis around credit recovery and so forth. Our mission is very clear, and that is we have an obligation to ensure that young people, all young people, have access, opportunities, and the appropriate supports in place, and then certainly to examine the outcomes as a result of our work and to make whatever necessary changes. Our dropout rate in terms of Hampton, when we look at the dropout rates, it's very clear. Again, together we have worked as a team, and we have been able to move that needle in terms of our dropout rate from the year of 2015, where we had about 5% of our young people in terms of the dropout, to 2020 with 1.2% dropout rate. And we continue to focus our energies there through our grad specialists and coaches, and certainly the administrators and teachers and support staff, and working with our families and our young people on an individual basis. And then so many partnerships, strong partnerships with members in our community along the way. When we talk about the accreditation and then the on-time graduation rate and dropout rate, for us, when we focus on our mission of that of maximizing every child's learning with our mission, we believe in a systems approach, that we have to have aligned acts of improvement, as my colleagues have mentioned, a guaranteed viable curriculum where we have the standards of learning from the Commonwealth of Virginia. And then we have been able to peel those standards back to determine what young people should know, understand, and be able to do. And then as a part of that design, we have the lesson design and delivery focused on explicit instruction and the use of high yield strategies, a tiered system of support or supports for our young people, as my colleague mentioned in Pocosin, using authentic assessments to make certain that young people have mastered what we expect them to know, understand, and be able to do. And then also a very clear focus on safe and nurturing learning environments, and then using data to really drive our decision making. And so we have created an in-house, very robust data system whereby we're able to examine whether it's attendance, whether it's third grade reading, whether it's kindergarten, the number of letters that young people in kindergarten have that they're able to recognize, to really look at that data and to determine what we believe the resources that are working, and where we need to make adjustments, and what other human or otherwise resources that we need to support our young people to set them up for academic achievement and success. And then the use of 21st century learning tools along the way. Quickly, in terms of a clear focus on the academies of Hampton, with over 80 business partners, we develop a portrait of a Hampton graduate. So it's around that content, knowledge, career, and life skills, focusing on communication, collaboration, and leadership, positive sense of self and purpose, and along with focusing on that, with the Academies of Hampton. We believe that with our young people that the journey is very about multiple entry and exit points for them to ensure that they're prepared for life. And so it's about college, career, and life preparation. And so the Portrait of a Hampton Graduate really focuses on that aspect of the journey. We have been working with Ford in Hampton right now, the only school division in the Commonwealth of Virginia designated as a Ford Next Generation Learning Community. And so that transformation with our academies, Strand 1, it's about transforming teaching and learning, the secondary school experience, and also the business and civic engagement there. So we moved from 5 academies where we now have 16 academies, and from 18 pathways to 44 pathways that we offer young people, and 41 of the 44 pathways are actually populated with students. And this gives you a quick overview of where the academies reside at the 4 high schools in terms of that transformation, in terms of teaching and learning and the student experience, the civic and business engagement. So you get a chance to see that there. And then I'll conclude with just the Academies of Hampton in terms of the experience along the way. In 9th grade, it's about self, career, and industry exploration. And in 10th grade, industry and career exploration. And then in 11th grade, it's career exploration and immersion. And then in 12th grade, it's total immersion in terms of making certain that young people are prepared for college, career, and life. So I'll stop there and just say that a final piece in terms of a celebration as with colleagues, and as Dr. Gaston mentioned, we're proud of the strong dual enrollment program with Thomas Nelson Community College. And in addition to our governor's school, whereby young people can enroll in dual enrollment and earn credits, we also now have populated dual enrollment programs at each of our high schools. And we have had a 753% increase in dual enrollment credits earned by young people. And so we're proud of that. And to say that a few years, let's say 2 years ago, we had 2 young people who graduated with an associate's degree from the governor's school, who were enrolled in the governor's school. And I'm proud to say, as superintendent of Hampton, that this year, the class of 2021 through our ACE Academy, which is our Academy of College Experience, we will have 26 young people who will graduate with an associate's degree as members of the class of 2021. So that gives a quick overview of who we are as a school division, the journey that we have been on, and certainly as with my colleagues, the great things that are going on, not just in Hampton, but throughout our region, and the success that we share. Our core business is very much, it's teaching and learning, and we focus on student achievement and success. And that's the business that we're in. So thank you so very much for the opportunity.
Great, Jeff, and thank you for a complete overview of what's happening there in Hampton. A lot of great opportunities there. Certainly, the academies have had a lot of spotlight in recent years with the rise of the transformation that's taken place in those high schools, and we appreciate your leadership. And I think, you know, when you take a look at this mosaic, you're starting to see, hopefully, Realtor members, you know, that there's so much variety, so much personalization, so much that's unique in each of the school divisions, all toward the same goal, obviously, of increasing student achievement and making sure that our students are getting their needs met. But the paths that they and the programs that they create are very unique and very different to our communities, because our communities are so unique. And I think that's what gives everybody such a great flavor here in this overview and this conversation. Certainly, last and not least, we're going to scoot over to York County to Victor Shander. Vic, good morning.
Good morning, Dave. And those guys are extremely hard to follow, especially Jeff Smith. You know, I think the realtors on this line you're in a really good position, because you really can't go wrong. This region has so much to offer. We have so many dedicated educators in the system, And we're just fortunate to have such dedicated superintendents because I'll tell you, the job is not easy. And I know that all the soups on the call will certainly understand how difficult this job is, especially this last year. So I am in my I'm finishing my 7th year. I'm actually in my 27th year of education. We must have sent you an old bio, Dave. But as you said earlier, Dave, never waste a good crisis. And what I'll tell you is just to briefly start off, February 3rd, many of you who live in the area or watch the news understand that we lost the Grafton complex, which is a 300,000 square foot facility. That was about a month and a half before COVID hit. So my team was already trying to figure out, where are we going to put those students? How are we going to educate those students? What's that plan going to look like? So we were already in a crisis mode, so to speak, about a month and a half before COVID hit. So we worked with our partners, we worked with a lot of our local businesses, churches, et cetera, and really came together. And I think during that time, we gained a lot of community trust. We used a solid analytical problem-solving process. We communicated in a transparent fashion. We had in-person forums with families at both of our 2 of our large high schools, and they were packed. I mean, 950 or so people at each one. We had videos to show them that it wasn't just a little, fire alarm smoke issue. I mean, we basically lost those facilities to extensive smoke damage, and we lost all of the electrical power in the school. So, and I also am blessed to have a very gifted communications expert who has provided a lot of written communication. So, I say that because we're proud of the work that we did navigating that process, which really prepared us for jumping in on March 13th when COVID hit. So let me backtrack a little bit. So York County, we have about 12,900 students, and obviously that's fluctuated in the last year due to COVID. We've had some families choose to go homeschool, or primarily a lot of kindergarten families not have their students start this year. So you'll hear the bubble. There'll probably be a bubble next year for all of our districts, especially in kindergarten or first grade, as we're looking at enrollment for next year. We have 19 schools in York County. We have 10 elementary, 4 middle, 4 traditional high school, and 1 charter high school, which is York River Academy. We're about 12% special education, or a little over 12%. I share that specific statistic because York County is a compassionate care district. So essentially the military, if you're in the military, you can request Langley so that you can be placed in our school division. It's important to note that 44% of our students are federally connected, again, with a really high military connection. We utilize our military liaison. I know Jeff does as well in Hampton. We really utilize them to help our families transition, and a number of our schools have programs such as welcoming committee for military connected students. We also receive a high dollar amount for impact aid funding. And that's basically due to the high land mass use of federal property, which is in York County. Also, I think as already mentioned earlier, we're fortunate to have over 51% of our students have master's degrees. And I'll just share 3 brags really quickly, or recognitions. Again, we're a division, we've been recognized by the DOE, Board of Education, recognized our school division as a school division of innovation, and only 14 schools in the state earned that honor. We also have 11 Purple Star schools. So the Purple Star Award schools, those are schools that demonstrate a commitment to meeting military families' needs while also providing resources and program related to transitions and academic planning. So again, really fortunate. Bethel Manor is a school that's really unique to this area because it basically sits on a base. And when you go there and you talk to students in those classrooms, typically none of the students were there the year before. And when you say, where are you from? It's Korea, Hawaii. It's just amazing. And you would never know, because those kids can connect with each other because they're all experiencing a similar childhood and academic experience. And the third recognition, it's not necessarily a recognition, but we're really proud of our grad rate as well. We're at almost 97%. But more importantly, we're really proud of our subgroup improvements. Over the last 6 or 7 years, we've seen pretty substantial gains in special education, economically disadvantaged, and our Black students. We've seen a lot of improvement in those areas. Like the guys said earlier, we have programs at New Horizons with special education. We have Gov School within York County. We have an IB program. We also established 2 years ago an early college program partnership with Thomas Nelson. And I'll just say we have various programs across all levels, but there's a high emphasis on STEM activities, just like most other school systems. At the elementary level, we really put a lot of resources into our makerspace opportunities there. We have various course offerings and clubs at the middle and high school level. We also, right before the pandemic started, we launched esports in our district at Tab High School as a pilot. We first started that. The kids absolutely loved it. We've made wonderful improvements in adding clubs to all three levels over the last 4 years so our kids can feel connected to our schools. I'll share a statistic with you. About 4 years ago, Angie Siders was the principal at Tab High School, and she shared with us during her end of year school improvement plan activity that 86% of her kids were connected to the school. And that got me thinking, and when I say connected, I mean they play a sport, they're in the band, they're connected to a club, or there's some activity or adult that they feel connected to that school. So 86% is that's a high number. So we challenged all of our other schools to calculate that number. And it looks different for elementary and middle, but it's still something that's incredibly important. So we've seen consistent improvement in our students' performance over the last number of years, but I'll be honest with you, I attribute that to the close connections and relationships that our staff established with families. We also pay a stipend to student connection coaches. So basically a student connection coach at our schools, they have a caseload of students that they are to follow, that they are to check in with. And there's a plan for those kids to make sure they feel that they are connected to the school. Obviously, we want all of our students to have a trusted adult that they can go to. We had a woman named Dr. Allison Sampson Jackson. So if that name rings a bell, if it doesn't, you need to go on and look at her TED Talk. She really jump-started our work in this area about 4 years ago. She spoke to all of our staff, all of our teachers, principals, assistant principals, et cetera. And she's a wonderful presenter. And the story that she tells about her own life is inspiring and moving. She really focuses on ACEs, which is adverse childhood experiences. And that's various forms of physical and emotional abuse, neglect, or household dysfunction that our families go through. And that could really be masked by a family that comes from a really good home. They may still experience that. It's not just students who may be in extreme poverty. There's various levels that contribute to adverse childhood experience. So again, there's a lot of treatments that are involved with that. We've trained our teachers, social workers, and all of our staff members in understanding and recognizing the signs for this. We have a mental health task force that we implemented a while back. It's basically a collection of experts from the field, teachers, administrators, obviously social workers, psychologists, et cetera. Jumping back into some programs to throw one of our magnet programs out there. We're really proud of the arts program, the School of the Arts program at Bruton High School. Arletha Dockery does a fantastic job up there as a principal. We also have a middle school, it's called MSAM, Middle School Arts Magnet program up there as well. These programs are offered in the areas of literary arts, theater arts, advanced technical theater, and dance arts. And then I guess I'll conclude by saying I'm really proud of the work that we've been able to do here in the last 6 or 7 years. We basically oversaw about $60 million of capital improvement projects that have happened in our school division. And again, we're our school division, our buildings are old. I always laugh when I say this, but the 19 school buildings in York County have an average age of 50 years old. And I'm 50 years old. So you can see I have a lot of work on my face and my hair and my body that needs probably fixed or improved. So we've really done a good job of evaluating and assessing the work that needed to be done in our schools, primarily major renovations. We've had 3 or 4 elementary schools that were major renovations: Tab Elementary, Yorktown Elementary, Waller Mill, just to name a few in the last couple of years. We've done some wings as well. Mike Lombardo's old school over there. Bethel Manor, we redid 2 of their hallways actually that hadn't been done in many years. Many roof replacements, HVAC replacements, and we've upgraded all of our safety measures. We've closed in all of our breezeways. that were exposed for the past many years. We've enclosed all of them. We've also put security vestibule installations in all of our schools. So that's just a little bit about York County. And again, Dave, thank you for the opportunity to get on here and talk a little bit. But once again, like I said earlier, you're on here with to the Realtors, you're on here with a number of great leaders who lead with high integrity and work really hard for all their kids. Thanks.
Thank you, Victor. I couldn't agree more. And you can see, I think, too, that the variety and what happens in the daily work of a superintendent, it's everything. You know, it's from the facilities and the management of that, to the student learning, to the graduation rates, to the programming, to the community partnerships, to everything. It's an all-encompassing piece, a lot of moving parts, a lot of plates spinning on the sticks in the air, but somehow they all keep it moving at a really good pace. And then you throw in a pandemic for a little more added confusion, and that just makes the entire situation all the more harrowing, I guess, but none worse for the wear. I'm going to turn over the program to Peggy because we do have some questions that we want to finish out the program with for our superintendents. Peggy, I know there's a couple of questions have been coming in on the chat. We're going to do our best to be able to get everything in the time allocations, but go ahead and we'll lead off with some questions.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Dave. All you superintendents and assistant superintendents, thank you so much for all this information. It's great. We absolutely love getting this class or this whatever agenda together. Sorry. So I'm going to start off with the questions because I know we're running out of time. The first question is from Kara Mims, our president-elect for VPAR. She asked, and any one of you can raise your hand and answer it, that would be fine. For any of the school systems or specific schools that are over instructional and facility capacity, which of course affects class sizes, this has concerned some of the families where they are moving to other localities with smaller class sizes. Is there any insight from any of you that you can share on how this is being addressed, or any plans in the upcoming years to help with the class sizes, whether you're bringing in additional teachers, expanding schools, additional schools, that sort of thing?
Yeah, I'll chime in really quickly. A couple things
Sure.
here. That is going to be a challenge for all of us. As we mentioned, students who were either chose to homeschool, or kindergarten students that didn't come this year, we're all going to be faced with that. But I do think there's an opportunity for, when you think about the need for computer labs, for example, if you have 2 or 3 computer labs in your school, because all of us have implemented a one-on-one initiative, you may have more space than you think you have in your school. This also will, when you think about innovation and opportunity, it's really forced our building leaders to think a little differently about how they use space. So if they have a book room or other different materials rooms, they can use those for small breakout rooms. There's a number of different ways to use your space in a building. But I really like to think through the computer lab piece, especially if a school's had multiple, you'll certainly gain some space there. Also, if there's mobile units, et cetera. But I don't think the answer is just pull up a bunch of mobile units to a school. I think you have to really put a thoughtful team together to review your numbers. And quite frankly, I think we're all going to be facing that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Typically, I would ask for another input, but with us being limited on time, I'm going to go roll into the next question, if that's all right with you all. This question comes from Carla Menser. She's asking, what strategies are each of the divisions using to tighten the educational achievement gaps post-COVID? So we realize that COVID's brought up a lot of gaps in learning for some of our young people. And so what are we going to do in the future to lessen the gap?
I'll chime in. I think Dr. Smith hit on a few things that are very important. One is the quality of curriculum, and making sure that that we are really have a laser focus on making sure that we're teaching information for learning and not just to cover material. We use a tiered system of support to address student needs in terms of, and a strong assessment and practices to identify students who may be struggling learners. We actually have a profile approach, a data-driven approach called a vulnerability index, where we look at our students based on some socioeconomic and or other factors that might identify them as a student that may have challenges with mastering who are being successful in our schools. We're in that process now. Since this is a year, we will have SOL testing, but this year, and not an accreditation process. But the goal right now is to identify students who are not progressing or adequately meeting expectations now, so that we can provide the remedial support moving before the summer. We're not going to try to wait till the summer to fix everything. We will have a very robust summer initiative this year, which will be focused heavily on literacy and STEM education and other programs that allow students to get some access to math and science. We also are going to ramp up and leverage our virtual learning for students who may not physically come to a class this summer, but also may have opportunities to access some coursework through Virtual Virginia and continue their learning over this summer. But really, it's about getting the right kids, not just offering a summer program. It's about identifying the students now who have deficits and doing something about it now. And we do that through assessment practices. Moving into the summer programming and making sure that the right kids are accessing the summer programming. So you have to make sure it's targeted to students not only who want to go to summer school or attend a summer program, but you have kids, you're contacting parents and actually saying, man, your child, Johnny, needs to attend this summer program so we can work on his literacy skills and give him a better chance to be successful next year. So we're in that phase now, is really focusing. I don't think schools are waiting. I know my colleagues probably would agree. We're not waiting until the summer or the fall to try to fix any learning loss issues. We're targeting and looking at a targeted approach, a data-driven approach right now, and identifying students who need something a little more than what we were giving them in a virtual or a hybrid environment. And I'll leave anyone else to chime in on that.
I think we all agree with you, Dr. Parker.
Thanks, Dr. Parker. I apologize about that. That's awesome. I love the fact that you all are working on this now instead of waiting, another school year, another start to a school year. I like that we're hitting it head on and going forward. That's going to really make all of us successful and to move our young people to be successful themselves. Our next question comes from our current VPAR president, Sandra Hood. She's curious about lessons learned from pandemic shutdown and any permanent changes implemented or discussed from these lessons learned. I realize we've gotten some answers from Mr. Tillett. Any other superintendent that wants to chime in on this?
Yeah, I'll jump in quickly. Those lessons,
Okay.
Of course, we have learned the power of technology in terms of the virtual world. And I think that for all of us, we're certainly going to take those lessons learned in terms of access. And so we have been able to leverage that world of technology to really go forth and focus on our core business of teaching and learning. So I'll just say that in particular. And then all of the various platforms that are available that teachers and various school divisions that we're currently using to enable young people to access that teaching and learning. So that's, in particular, but also the power of communication and connectivity, how important it is to make certain that we're communicating with our families and the community on a very frequent basis, whether we're doing it through frequently asked questions, the power of that communication tool to keep families and the community connected to the business and the world of teaching and learning. So I'll stop there in general to say, technology, we all have leveraged the resources there, those one-on-one devices, the power of using those one-on-one devices, technology in terms of the connectivity. We have focused on making certain that our young people and families are connected. And then those virtual platforms that we're using to deliver the instruction and so forth. So I think, to say that we're going to go back to what used to be, that's just not the way we're going to operate. Things are going to be different for us. And so we'll take those best practices forward and make certain that we continue with a strong communication program as well.
I would probably I think
Yeah, go
she
on.
said extremely well. The one thing I would add is that was an opportunity, quite honestly, is just collaboration on many levels, you know, between school divisions and community partners. I think that has been wonderful. Principals collaborating with each other, because sometimes principals, you know, they're little mini CEOs. But you know, we've all had to navigate this thing together. We've had to use everyone's feedback from, you know, we have students on some of our committees, we have teachers on task forces, and this hasn't been just one decision. This has been multiple decisions for the last 10, 11, 12 months. And I, quite honestly, the collaboration between superintendents. I mean, don't kid yourself, guys. We know each other and we talk to each other about,
Right.
hey, how are you doing this? What do you think? You know, we do that with snow days, although we may not do it as much anymore. But what I really think the biggest opportunity is the collaborations amongst teachers, because some of our most experienced teachers had to learn how to use Canvas. They had to learn how to navigate that learning management system. And there's nothing more humbling than a 24-year-old teacher teaching a seasoned veteran like myself how to use those things, make them interactive, make them engaging, et cetera. And also the use of Power BI data. So we've really used, this helped springboard us into using our systems and you know, teacher observations, et cetera. So I think, you know, like Jeff said, there is no going back to normal. To me, going back to normal is a low standard. You know, what can we do better? How can we improve? And you know, again, everyone on this call, you can count on the 5 or 6 of us to keep pushing to try to make sure that we're putting out the best innovative practices for our kids.
Thank you. And, you know, collaboration across the board, not just through schools, but I think everyone as a whole in our country and the world, we've learned collaboration is huge. Technology is even bigger. And this is our new normal. We're not going to go back to what it used to be. We're going to make things better. And, you know, this pandemic gave us the opportunity to get out of our comfort zone and do something new. So thank you so much for all of that. The next question I have is specifically for Superintendent Tillett. Michelle Pollock is asking, she has interest in the Pocosin Financial Education Program. Do you mind elaborating on that?
Yes, it was an application program that our kids could, high school level kids could participate in. And it was a national program. And we got some feedback before I got here through some survey work in preparation for our strategic planning, that one of the concerns among our families was the lack of financial literacy of our students. In a lot of cases, putting them in harm's way, sending them off to college and they get credit cards and all of the things that go into the challenges of students being literate and healthy in their financial worlds. And we got some pretty solid feedback that was an area of improvement for us. So we engaged this program, and it goes in great detail where kids learn how to manage money through all these modules, real world application, which you'll be very interested in your line of work, in how to save for, borrow, and pay for and maintain a dwelling, a house. And so part of that is part of this financial literacy. And then the kids take very rigorous examinations on this process and their learning. And those exams are scored nationally. And we were one of, I think, 12 to maybe 14 high schools in the country that received that WISE financial literacy accreditation. And so we're proud of that. Our kids learned a lot. We intend to continue it. We want to partner also with local education agencies like Thomas Nelson. I was in conversation with the new president of Thomas Nelson recently about ways to partner with them in areas like financial literacy and other particular areas that we don't have a broad curriculum for in Virginia, that we could hone in through these partnerships to help our kids be literate and ready to go out in the world and tackle it.
Thank you.
Did
That
that
is
answer your question?
awesome. Michelle, I don't know if she's still on or not, but I felt it answered the question. Michelle, did it answer your question? Okay,
She's not
so
on. She's
okay.
not on.
I wrote down all of your answers though. If you all don't mind, there's one more question I would really like to ask, because it pertains between us being realtors helping sell the community for the schools. And this question comes from Chandra Patterson. And she says, realtors encounter buyers relocating from out of the area and state. For those who have school-age children, they're focused on schools to determine where to buy. A lot of them do their research on that national website, such as Greater Schools, that rate the schools in an area. How can you overcome those conversations when what they see on those sites do not match the positives showcased on the actual school system's websites? Do you all have any suggestions for that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it seems pretty simple. You know, if take it from someone who's moved to multiple states. So I lived in Virginia, I moved to North Carolina, I lived in Atlanta, and I came back here. Obviously, when I came back here, I didn't really have a choice of where I was going to live because my board says I have to live here. However, when you move, yes, there's a lot. I think the internet it's good because there's a lot of information out there. But you know, if you want the source of the information and you're looking at a potential school district to move into or a particular school zone to look in, then I would do the homework on that particular school district or that particular school. Potentially have some discussions with a principal at some point, you know, reach out to them and say, do you have any information you can send me about your programs? What are you most proud of as the principal in the school? All of those types of things to get information versus a national site, because that national site may have, you know, may not have been updated for the last 4 or 5 years.
Right.
There may have been a principal change or so there's just so much that can change. I would try to say localize it as much as possible and make sure you have the most accurate information so you can make an informed decision.
And I agree with my colleague 150% there. And to say that perhaps a partnership that we could establish together with the realtors would be, how do we in a collective way market our region together in terms of schools? Because as my colleague said in York, as Vic said, you know, really seeing is believing, getting in and having those conversations and so forth. And in all honesty, you can't go wrong with any of the school divisions that are represented here. It doesn't matter. I would have my children in any school division represented here. And so it's getting in and having those conversations. But I would say and offer that a partnership that we could potentially establish together, and that is how together in a collective way we can really market our region and including the schools as a part of that marketing package and package. So we're open to that, to say, you guys, you have the contacts and the tools, and we have public relations officers in our schools, and we would love to partnership with you to really get that message out nationally and internationally in terms of sharing those best practices and the strength or the strengths of our schools and divisions.
That's a great point, Jeff. So I think about one quick example. So as I explained earlier, we're a super high military connected community. Tab Elementary School, Mary Lugo's the principal over there. And she was getting so many requests for tours that she was like, how am I going to balance my time between being in classroom, giving tours, all those types of things. So they created basically a virtual tour. So there's a virtual tour, and then she'll be happy. Of course, all of our principals will be happy to talk to anyone, but sometimes they just want to see the building. What's the library look like? What's a typical classroom look like? You know, at K2, at 3-5, you know, what does the outside look like? The gym, the music room, et cetera. Sometimes they just want to see what that looks like. So, you know, now that we've been pushed into COVID, we've had to go virtually for so many things, but they've created this on their own. So now that's a great time saver for that principal.
I think that's great. And Pam Lewis took the words out of my mouth in the chat of saying, if we can get videos from each of the districts to forward on to our potential buyers coming into the area, that way we can showcase what's going on currently instead of what's nationally on there. That's an old website, right? Or the rating is not, you know, as clear as we want it to be, because we've battled that ourselves in neighborhoods with Zillow and some other websites. So I think if we can get videos from each of you all's districts, something like what Micah Vile of White gave us earlier today, I think that would be absolutely perfect. I know there were more questions, and I'm so sorry we've run out of time at the moment. But today was fantastic. And Dave, if you want to go ahead and wrap us up, I know everybody is busy and I appreciate all of this.
Absolutely, Peggy. Thanks. And very, very insightful questions, definitely from everybody here. That last question, it was an interesting segue, Jeff. You kind of led right into it in the sense of, what can you as superintendents look for or ask for from the real estate community in terms of that partnership. And that was a perfect walk right through that door of partnership there that I think we can use to leverage our region. I hope today that what you all have seen is the fact that while there are 133 superintendents in the Commonwealth of Virginia, you have 5 of the most outstanding superintendents sitting right here in your region. And they are leading our schools to some great opportunities and great achievement, and giving our students some terrific programming and some great options for their future. So I want to thank each of you all, gentlemen, for being with us today and allowing me to be able to be with you again. It's a wonderful opportunity. It's an honor to be here with you as colleagues and as friends. And again, thank you for giving us an insight into what's happening. Despite the pandemic, I think it's safe to say the business of learning has been going on. It has been forwarded and advancing. And we've not been able to really see many breaks, because our goal has always been, what can we do next? How are we going to get the kids back? How are we going to keep the flow of learning going? So thank you. Thank you for everything you've done. Running school divisions from your home is not an easy task. Having to go virtual with everything is a monumental chore. But you all have overcome some very, very big obstacles, and I thank you for everything you've done. With that, Peggy, thank you, and I appreciate you being a good partner today. And Sandra, I'll turn it back over to you.
Well, I just wanted to thank you again. We'll just wrap up. We're done here, but thank you to all the superintendents and assistant superintendents, and thanks, Peggy and Dr. Gaston. And I just do want to reiterate too that you all are amazing. How you've held all of us, our families, together over the pandemic. I can't even imagine. I have a daughter who's a teacher. I have a sister and a niece in the school system, so I've witnessed it firsthand. But you said it correctly, David. It's amazing. You're all amazing. We're very fortunate to be living in this community with you. So that's a wrap. Thank you to the members for participating in this, and thanks, Peggy, for taking notes. We'll try to get some of that wrap-up information out to all of you. Everybody have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Take care.
Bye.